Black Cop, which was a big song for us in '93, was supposed to be on Sex and Violence. And it was a song produced by Pal Joey, but it was to a disco beat. It was 120 beats per minute, which you gotta imagine, that's like a Katy Perry record now, tempo-wise. So it was like, black cop, black cop, black cop, black cop. Start shooting black people, we all gonna drop. You don't even get paid a whole lot. Dot, dot, dot. It was going like that. And that was the style. So it didn't make Sex and Violence. It just didn't go with what was going on in that album. And Jive was they were doing the CB4 soundtrack. And what they'll do is they'll find a song that never came out that they have, and they'll just throw it on our soundtrack. So they were throwing this song, Black Cop, on the CB4 soundtrack, as is. So the only thing, Chris had to go in the studio, mix the song, and turn it in the next day. The credits were already in, good to go. So I came in the studio with Chris. It was me, Chris, a guy named Willie D, who always was with us, and the engineer. So I'm listening to this record, I'm like, yo, Chris, this is so whack, yo. Like, this is 120 beats per minute. I mean, you can't even mix this with anything. At that time, the hottest records out were like Scenario and Faking the Funk and, you know, Pete Rock, you know, Reminisce, and all these records you could mix together and then 120 beats per record. You can't even play this record. I'm like, Chris, you gotta get rid of this, man. You gotta remix it. Chris is arguing me down. He's like, yo, it's already turned in. Like, what you're saying, the record is already turned in. We can't, it's already done. The record, they already have the record. I'm remixing it now just to make the levels right and turn it in. Chris, you can't do this. We argued for an hour and a half. It's like 11 o'clock at night. Somebody from Jive calls up, a representative from Jive calls up just to see how the session is going. Chris goes, yo, I'm changing the beat. This beat's too fast. It doesn't mix with anything that's out, and I'm changing the beat. And he hangs up. And I'm like, yo, he just told verbatim what I said to Jive, but he been arguing with me for this for an hour and a half. I'm like, you know, Chris, you a damn fool. So he's like, okay, now we got 3 hours, maybe 4 hours to do this song. I'm like, okay. Like, first of all, the tempo is going to be 96 beats per minute, which goes with everything else that's out. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to find some drums. So we had like a bag of records there, and I went through the records, and I found the drum sounds that I like. So if you listen to Black Cop, that's the drum sounds that I liked. So I'm like, okay, we need a bass line. I was like, we got to find a bass line. There was some keyboards there, so we got to find an ill bass line. You got to imagine bass lines like Dwick and Scenario, all of them had an ill bass line. I was like, okay, we need an ill bass line on this. Chris was like, well, first of all, I want the drum pattern to go boom, da-doom, doom, doom, that, da-doom, doom, doom, that. He said, like the Beastie Boys record. Beastie Boys had a record called It's the New Style, and that was a drum pattern, boom, da-doom. She's like, I want it to go like that Beastie Boys record. So I went boom, da-doom, doom, doom, that, doom, like that. So then he's like, okay, I got this reggae sample I want to put in. I'm like, nah, don't put no reggae. We do too much reggae. Come with some funk. He's like, no, I want to put this reggae record in. I'm like, no, that shit is whack. Reggae. So we argued like half an hour. So finally, he's like, this is the record. Fucking put it in there. So I'm like, all right. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. That's the sound. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. So I took the record, I sampled it, I put in the SP1200, because I was the only one in the room that knew how to work the SP1200 at that point. Chris didn't know how to work the SP200 at that point, but he learned a little later on. The engineer didn't know. I was the only one, so I really programmed the record. So I'm like, this shit is fucking whack, yo. And I stormed out the studio and I left and went home, right? Fast forward 3 months later, I'm in a club, and this DJ comes up to me. I can't remember if it was SNS or if it was Mr. C. It was one of those two guys. And was like, yo, I just got the new Black Cops here. That shit is crazy. Yo, it's crazy. And I'm like, damn, they must have remixed it again, because that record we did was whack. He's like, I'm going to play it. As soon as I get on the set, I'm going to play it. So he gets on. He throws it on. And the beat, the same beat comes on. Doom, that, do. And I'm like, that's the same beat. He thinks it's dope. And then when I hear the vocals, I never heard the vocals on it. Then I hear black cop, black cop, black cop, black cop. So I'm like, oh shit, that shit sounds kind of dope. So now I'm like, yo, that shit is rocking. But just the beat, I was like, fuck this. But when I heard his vocals, the way he was riding it, I was like, oh, this shit is dope. So now I'm like, yo, this is all right. I kind of, and this is around that same time when Jive was saying I was whack. So I was like, yo, I kind of co-produced a hot song. Credits come out. Produced by Pal Joey. Same credits that was the credits from before. Because mind, they turned in the credits before we even did the remix. So I'm like, damn, I cannot get a fucking break. So then I found out that they're going to put the record on Boom Bap. So I'm like, okay, they'll fix the credits or whatever, and I'll be good. Credits come out, Boom Bap, it just says produced by KRS-One, that's it, done. So I'm like, damn, man, I could have at least got co-production on that, or at least drum programming or something. As much arguing and fighting I was doing the big, we don't understand, we was ready to fucking scrap in the studio over this beat, and the way it turns out, I didn't get no credit. And then he took the same beat and gave it to Mad Lion, and Mad Lion made Shoot to Kill Every Day, and then that blew up. I'm like,